and welcome back here to Art a la Carte, and this is part one of my series on how to watercolor. I've done a lot of videos where I show you how to draw something and then at the end I'll do a quick watercolor to it, but I've had a lot of requests asking for more instructional videos on actually how to watercolor. So I decided to make a little series to teach watercolor. Now first is my disclaimer. When I finally decided to get into watercolor, I wasn't in a position where I could access any kind of instruction. There was no teachers available. It was back in the time, yes, before even YouTube. I couldn't even look up videos on YouTube to see how it was. So I really just sat down and had to teach myself how to watercolor through trial and error. So I don't know the fancy terminologies to everything. I don't know if there's specific rules because I am a rule breaker when it comes to art. And I'm going to teach you this method. And the reason this method is so cool is because I believe anybody who wants to watercolor can watercolor. If you tried watercolor and hate it, I just encourage you to give this technique a try. To give the way that I watercolor a try. See if it works for you, because it's really what helped me learn how to watercolor. So let's get started. So in this first episode of How to Watercolor, I'm going to talk to you guys about the paints that you're going to need. Now when you are getting ready to watercolor, there are two types of watercolor paint out there. One is called a brick or cake watercolor. And so I have this palette here, and what they do is they come in these little cakes here, and they're dry, they're not you can touch them and they don't get paint all over you. And when you add water to them, then it creates the paint and you can paint with them. So the cake ones are really popular, especially with kids, because they're really easy to keep clean. And you're going to have, you get those little palettes that you get at, at the local stores, in the kids section. Those are all cake palettes. The second ones are the actual tube paint. And in the tubes, there's actually kind of a liquidy paint that's inside there. So you take the tube, you squirt it out on your palette, and then you simply use your paintbrush and you can dip into the paint. It's already wet. You can add water to dilute it, but it's already, it's ready to go. The thing I like about these types of paint is after you use these and they dry up, they become just regular cake watercolor. So even though this one is completely rock hard dry, if I just add a little bit of water to it, it becomes ready to go and ready to paint with. Whether you choose the cake watercolors or the tubes, they both work great. Now watercolors come in what are called grades, and there are several different grades out there. The first one that you probably, most everyone is familiar with is the palette, usually that you can find like at a dollar store or something, and it just has the cake palettes. But what you're going to find is the quality in those paints are really low. If that's all you have, awesome, use it. That's great. But once you just want to start investing into some more professional watercolors, you're going to find two main grades. The first one is your student grade. So when I first decided I really wanted to do some serious artwork with watercolors, I picked up this set here, which is from Reeves, and it came in, I think a set of like 24 or something for like 10 bucks. And these are great, and as when I used them, I loved them. I still like them. And if you haven't used anything better than this, you'll find that this is awesome if all you've used is the little, dollar ones. So that's your student grade. So pros and cons with student grade. One, they're inexpensive to you to purchase. And so especially if you're just starting out and you want to just practice, these are great ones to practice with, because this little tube will last you for a long time. And like I said, I got a whole set of these, all different colors, for about $10, depending on if you can find a good coupon. And so I really recommend to get a student grade quality if you are thinking about doing some watercoloring. So those are the pros. The cons are, you really don't know about the cons until you move up into the artist grade, and then you realize the cons. And I'll show you a little bit in a second. I'll show you the differences between the two. So if you haven't tried anything better than a student grade watercolor, there really isn't any con, because you don't know what's better. You think this is better, but you don't know what's better than this. Okay, so yeah, not really much of a con until you're ready to move up. So then you have your professional grade, or what is called the artist grade. And let's just talk about the cons first. The first con is the price. So here's one that I have. It's fairly large size tube. This isn't even the top of the brand. But as you can see, for just one tube, was $20. I got mine on sale. That's why I picked this one up, because I was like $12.57 US dollars. And so I bought it and I was very excited. I love this paint. This is I like this brand, but other brands you're gonna find are gonna be really super expensive. So the investment is huge. That's probably the biggest con, is the investment. Actually, I think that's the only con, is the investment. I would not recommend going out and purchasing artist grade watercolors until you're sure that you like watercolor. Until you're ready to move up, until you're sure that you really enjoy watercolor, stick with the student grade until you're sure. Then you can slowly begin to replace your student grade with artist grade paints. So what is the deal between the two paints? Let me show you, because I can't really explain it. It has to be something that is shown. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a swatch of just plain clear water right here. And I'm going to pull up, make a nice puddle right there. And I'm going to pull in a nice brown, but it's in my student grade. So as I lay my color there, you're going to see it starts to fade. Our feather, and that's what I want. It's got a nice rich color. It moves really nicely in the paint. It's pretty awesome. And I can continue adding more color on that. So you can see, really nice paint, right? Yeah. Clean my brush off. I'm gonna make another swatch right over here. And I'll go ahead and use just a little bit of my black. So again, some water right there. I'm going to touch that to there. This is just a little bit of paint. I really didn't get very much on there. But you can see how it is spreading. This paint just moves amazingly. It flows, it spreads. It's totally worth it. So this paint is pretty stinking awesome. See, here's on top of this right now, this is student grade on top of that. See how it kind of feathers out, doesn't do much? Let's get a nice concentrate of this stuff here. Now that stuff. See how the difference? The difference! Wow. That's the difference right there. That's a good analogy. I got some good paint on there now. Okay, so this is artist grade. Boom. And see, with watercolor, you want this feathering, you want this spread. Another nice thing is that you just get this nice vibrant color. Now right here, it's not spreading because I'm painting wet on dry. And I'll get into this in later on tutorials on how to control your watercolor. But you'll see, you get this nice, vibrant color. Student grade, you still get a nice, vibrant color. It just might not be as, vivid as your artist grade. So when it comes down to it, your student grade, you can still do some amazing paintings and have a lot of fun. But your artist grade there's just a flow that goes with it that you know when you're painting with this stuff, as when you're painting with this stuff. Do I still use this stuff? Oh yeah, I still use because I bought this stuff like 5 or 6 years ago. And I still have a ton of it left. So I'm going to definitely use it up. I use my student grade a lot of times when I'm practicing or just doing personal art. And then I use my artist grade when I'm doing more professional work. So that kind of tells you the difference between your paints. Now that we know a little bit about what kind of watercolor paints are out there, let's talk about what kind of container you want to keep them in. So let's use this one here as an example. This one is my little traveling kit here, and so I don't have to have an extra case for this. This comes with its case right here. And most palettes will come with a place that you can store your paints, and then it has these little dishes here, which are called your wells. Little compartments that will separate your colors so that you can mix and match your colors. You can get a concentrate out just the way you want it, and you can fill these all up. So these are really, really great to use. The one thing that you want to make sure is that your wells have completely dried before you close this up. Otherwise, your paint is going to leak over into your actual palettes and will contaminate your colors. Let's talk a little bit about paint contamination. So right here I have my green and I have my yellow, and as you can see, my yellow is a little bit green. So does this mean I can never use this yellow again? Nope, doesn't mean that at all. Once it's dried, I just simply reconstitute the paint up there a little bit. And I'll just kind of sweep that paint out. I might put it over in one of my wells if I need to. I might, because I love saving paint. So I will transfer that green, yellowish green, over into another well, because I might use that color later. But as you can see, my yellow is all cleaned off. So what about if you use the tube paints? What do you put them in? You're going to want to purchase a palette, and they're very inexpensive. This is a palette very similar to the very first palette that I purchased. I think I got this for maybe 99 cents or something, and it's just a little plastic palette, has all these different wells and then a large area in the center for mixing different colors. I don't know why I haven't thrown this away. I probably would never use this paint anymore because it doesn't have a lid on it, so if you got in really close, I don't know if you can see, but there is a fine layer of dust over here. There's hair in here. So if I got some water and started mixing this up, yeah, it would reconstitute into paint, but you're going to have hair and stuff stuck into that, and it's really going to mess your painting up. So our palettes come in every shape and size. Here's a little portable one as well. This one makes you feel more artistic because it's got the little thumb hole in it, so you can be like all when you're painting. So my actual go-to palette that I use all the time, I love this palette, is this one right here. I think I got this one for like $6 or $7 at my local art store. And the reason I love this one is because it closes up, and then you can open it up, so it keeps my paints safe. So the first feature that I love about this is it has all these wells. It has a whole bunch of wells in it, so I can get just about every single shade of my watercolor paint put out in here. And then I use these little sets in here to mix my colors up. So a lot of times artists, after they finish a painting, will take their cloth and clean out the different wells so they can start fresh and clean it. And I don't do that. I wait till the next painting, and this is the reason why. So one of my paintings I did was Purple Breeze, and so I used a lot of these colors here and mixed up. And then the next painting that I did was my Ice Dragon, which again, I used a lot of these colors. So since I had these colors already mixed up, I was able to use them because I am a total person who likes to use every little bit of art supply that I have. So when I'm starting a brand new painting, if I don't have a palette area clean, or I'm not using any of these colors, I need a new area like this one here, I had cleaned this one up to do some red mixing in there, and I'll do that at the time that I need it. Once you have decided on what kind of paints that you want and the type of palette that you want to use to store them in, then you want to get to know your paints. And what I would suggest doing is doing a swatch card. So these are 2 swatch cards that I did for my large palette. What this helps you to do is, as you're painting, it kind of gives you a chart of what each color looks like. When they're in your palette, sometimes it's hard to remember which one of these greens is your vibrant, really warm green or a cool green, where when I have it out like this, I can really then begin to tell, oh, okay, I got you, which green is which. Actually, it goes this way. Boom, like that. So it helps me to remember which color does what. So here's your little exercise. Now that you have your paints, your palettes, all that, is to make your little swatch cards and then just start playing around with the colors. Don't worry about trying to create anything, just get to know what the colors look like so that you'll know if you want like a bluish black or brownish black, or if you want a black. You're gonna know your colors. So yeah, well, hopefully this helped you out in your beginning adventures of watercoloring, or maybe you've tried before and are looking for some extra tips. Hopefully this kind of helped answer some questions. Well, stay tuned for more on how to watercolor. I'm going to be doing these once a week on Wednesdays, Watercolor Wednesdays, until I'm all done. So that will be fun. So more watercolor next Wednesday, and until then, check out my other tutorials on different drawing things. And thanks so much for watching, and until next time, God bless you guys, and we'll see you later.